Hello and welcome to the Insta Runners Roundup podcast. This is episode 5, Saltire 24 and Blast Running Sunset Running Festival. I think I said that right. There seems to be a lot of running in there. Before I introduce this week's hosts, can I say a huge thank you to Stevie McKenna and our own king of the community, Jimmy Gow, for a great episode, the last one. I've not listened to it, obviously, because I'm a narcissist and I wasn't on it. But yeah, it was very well received. And thank you everyone that liked and shared and spread the word about that episode. It was very good. So well done, guys.
Cheers. Cheers.
So as I said, today we're missing one guy because, speaking of narcissists, he wasn't running on PB, and so he's not wanting to take part in today's. So we're missing AB. But we do have Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
You can talk. I've got Jimmy.
Hello.
And we've got Jace.
Hello.
Right, so we'll just jump straight into it and talk about the Saltire 24, which I must admit I'd never heard of it in my life. But me being someone that's not into the ultra scene and the backyard stuff and the 24 hours and all this shenanigans, I wouldn't expect to. So, Mike, can you tell us what a Saltire 24 is?
It's only the third year that it's actually been run, so it's a relatively new event in the grand scheme of things. I know it's same as Loch Ness 24. I think that's only in its third year this year. So all relatively new events, but just following the same format as a lot of other 24-hour events. A 4.2 mile loop, 24 hours, and go around it as much as you can do. Pretty much. But it's set up here at Knockburn Loch, which is near Banchory. So it's one of the kind of rare, more northeastern ultras. Obviously, everything either seems to be right up north or more central or western. So it's actually a closer event to me than most others that I'll have to travel to.
So what did you take the van up then? Did you?
Yeah, I went up on the Friday. So the event started 10 o'clock Saturday morning. But I went up Friday pretty much sharp because I wanted to get a better spot for setting up next to the course. The course ran right through where the camping areas was. So they had the 24-hour runners on one side and a bit of course. Then they had the 12-hour runners on the other fence of it, and then another bit of course going the other side. And there was a tent camping area that was also next to another section of the course. So whether you were in a tent or in a van doing whatever length of event, you were pretty much near the course. You didn't have to come far away if you wanted to on any laps. So the actual layout of the event was pretty decent. But I got there early because I wanted to get the best positions.
What was the terrain like for this one?
Trickier than I was expecting. It's pretty much fields, kind of farm track, and like undulating, but very the same as the guys described with the Ultra Scotland event. Very uneven cambered, very potholey. You have to watch your ankles on quite a bit of it. About 80% off-road, if a bit more than that, only a tiny bit of tarmac. But it was actually all right, I think, because it was so dry. It was fine. It was pretty hard packed. Whereas if it had been wet like Loch Ness was last year, it could have been different. It's slipping down that hill.
See, sticking with the terrain question, did you find, with regards to that kind of surface, as obviously as like Steve alluded to last time, you got a couple of hundred people running over it. Obviously, you've got people running over it continually in a giant loop. Did the surface over time just start deteriorating and become worse? Did it change much for how it was at the start? And
to be honest, no, because it was pretty hard packed. So not even the grassy sections didn't change that much. The only section that changed was a slight gravelly road about 3/4 of a mile in on the first major downhill. That actually got better as you went through the event because people had then kicked the stones more out of the way, so it was firmer underfoot. But no, the terrain thought it was pretty decent, but more undulating as well, like 2 decent climbs. First 3/4 of a mile was uphill consistently, then downhill, and a couple of other sharp climbs. But I prefer that in an event over having done flat ultras like G to E that absolutely hammer the hamstrings, hammer the hips. At least this allowed everything to change up. But no, course-wise, it was actually quite decent.
So were you up yourself then? What happened with the? So did you just have to stop and fuel yourself, or did you have anybody with you, or what was your community like up there?
So I didn't necessarily have a dedicated crew like I've done in previous events, but I was up there with Leanne, or Running Mum Leanne. There's quite a few people know, Katie and somebody else called Mike, and we were all doing the 24. So we pretty much, Mike came up with his dad's motorhome, which is actually a renovated prison van. It was fucking huge. It was a house on wheels, basically. So we set that the other side of the van, had a huge awning out, had tables set up. So we laid all of our bags, kit, food out, kind of 2 meters off the course, basically. So each lap, it was right there for all of us in the same area. So we kind of supported ourselves. And the guys had kind of friends and family come up that were able to help us as well. But the great thing with the motorhome kind of van was there was hot water on tap. So getting those pot noodles in, getting the coffees in, especially in the night, was great. Pot noodles and caffeine and paracetamol, the winning combo for 24 hours.
See, that must make some difference, though. On you go, Jimmy.
Sorry. No, on you go, Bob, because I was going to ask a different question that will take us kind of back a bit. You just on you go, mate.
Because I was just thinking, these kind of 24-hour things, I think I would always want something hot. I don't know why. I think you would start craving something warm, like I just say, like a pot noodle or even a cup of soup or a can of soup. Not just something warm in you to kind of heat you up and get you going again. But
yeah, definitely makes a difference.
Option.
Yeah, gels, and that stuff only goes so far with something like this. Like, there's only so much your stomach's going to tolerate. So having hot food at Loch Ness 24, I had a lot of pasta. We rented a camper van for that. So the ex would kind of make pasta between some of the laps. But pot noodles are such an easy go-to, an easy intake of carbs.
So see your actual fueling, Mike. Did you have a plan? Did you have it all written out as such? What you want to take, when you want to take it, how much and stuff? And also, with regards to that, how did that plan go as the race went on, and how did that affect you?
The plan started absolutely amazing until it fell apart. No, so for this one, so for any ultra, I'll break down to 70 or 80 grams of carbs per hour. And I'll make a list of what carb intake each food item has, and I'll put them together so I'll know per hour or per every couple of hours if I have these items that will add up to the kind of amount. For this one, I basically separated everything into bags. So each bag had 150 grams worth of carbs in it. So I knew every 2 to 3 laps, I just needed to grab a bag and go, or eat out of the bag each lap. So I kind of separated it and just made it as easy as possible. And it was absolutely fine for, I'd say, the first 8 hours. Because up to that point, pacing was on point and I was actually feeling pretty good. I think you can tell if your fueling's not on because you'll start to crash. Like your energy levels will go down, your legs will feel heavy, but they didn't. The issues was the heat. So the temperatures were that hot. The biggest mistake I made was taking on, I think, 2 to 3 liters of water in a very short space of time. And that made my stomach bloat and then cramp up from 8 hours in. So I mismanaged my hydration more than actual fuel. But fueling was actually pretty decent. And if I hadn't have stopped at the end of the first lap to grab fuel, I would have extended my fastest lap of the event to the 35-minute point instead of 36. But still fastest solo runner lap out of everybody. I'll take that.
So see, you touched on it there. You were saying that you weren't quite on point with your hydration. So is that something that you don't, like, you obviously said that you manage your food and you write it all out, you know exactly what you're having. Is that not something you do with your hydration? Because I know when I run, I know I have an alarm on my phone saying every 30 minutes, take something to drink, take something to eat. But you've seen it when we've been running, every 30 minutes, drink and eat. drink and eat, drink and eat. Otherwise, just kind of like you said, it just goes to pot and you forget, or stuff happens or whatever.
I'll drink quite steadily throughout. So because it was a 24-hour event, I didn't have a hydration vest. I left a bottle a mile and a half in at a kind of do it your own table that was set up. And then I would drink at the end of a lap, which was fine. The problem was I overhydrated. So when the heat kicked in, I was that focused on trying to make sure I stayed hydrated that I took too much in far too much space of time. So I should have drank less, if anything, in that period of time. Maybe slow down a wee bit, but no, I think generally I'll just drink consistently, not necessarily to a time. But I drank every lap, like twice per lap.
So see your food. Sorry, I'm just keep going in with your hydration stuff because it's quite a big part of these kind of things. What kind of stuff were you eating and what kind of stuff were you drinking? I know you said pot noodles, but I didn't imagine you were grabbing a pot noodle every 3 laps or whatever it is you were talking about. What kind of stuff were you eating to keep you at that level?
No, I didn't have a pot noodle until well later. So there's a lot of gels still. I still did have the normal stuff. There's gels, fruit and nut packs. Jaffa cakes is one. There's 50 grams of carbs in 6 Jaffa cakes, which is easy to take on a run. Big flapjacks have about the same. Bananas kind of have a decent amount. Kind of the small bags of Haribo. So basically each lap, there was kind of one bigger item that was split between a lap or two, which I would grab and eat usually as I was finishing. And then I would shove gels or other things just in my pockets and eat around the course. The kind of various, but pot noodles were the only hot thing. But yeah, bananas, flapjacks, gels, sweets, kind of thing.
Jimmy, see, like 80 grams of carbs, is that something that you would usually aim for as well? I'm just trying to think from a marathon point of view. I'm usually about 40 every 50 minutes type of thing. 80 seems huge.
It's probably about that, aye. So I've only really tried my fuel in the last 2 races, the Fling and that Ultra Scotland. Before that, I just used to just wing it. So the 2 races were the ones, and I aimed for like closer to 100, knowing that I probably wouldn't get that, but I was going on like a gel 30 minutes past the hour, then on the hour I was having like an SIS, one of those better fuel bars, but in between I knew I was taking Tailwind as well, which has got carbs in it. So that's how I was kind of doing it, but I was probably like Mike about 80 to 100 was the same.
Yeah, I think because you're running slower, it's easier to ingest it. I think obviously in a marathon, especially when you're going at that pace, you know you're going to be depleting over time, but the aim is obviously just to keep yourself topped up to the end. Whereas with this, especially looking at going for 12, 15, 24 hours, if you crash at like halfway through this, you're not pulling it back. It's a long game, so it's your overall caloric intake as much as just carbs as well.
That's a good point, because when I fuel on like an easy run, it's so much easier to take on a gel when I'm trying to, compared to when I'm trying to like a race pace feeling. It feels totally different, and then your stomach's a bit more stressed and stuff like that, isn't it? It's hard to kind of get it down. That's why you train for it. But
definitely, but even also you're moving a lot faster, and you're concentrating a lot more when you guys are doing like your tempos and your speed works and stuff. So when you're if at worst when you're doing your ultra, you can stop for 30 seconds, quickly neck your gel, and away you go again. It's not like you're having to tank it as you're moving at a pace.
Well, you're walking the hills. Like even from lap 2, I still walked the hills, the inclines on this. So you're a lot more likely to be walking, let's say, going at a slow pace. But you got to remember as well, your digestive system still needs blood flow to activate. So the more blood flow you're sending to the muscles because you're pushing, the less you're going to be using to digest the food in the first place. So you need to slow down if you're taking in too much. Obviously, for the marathon, you'll be taking in smaller amounts, but probably a little bit more often.
so then what happened then following your stomach upset then, or your stomach? It sounds similar to what I had at Edinburgh. where it was just a pain and you feel you try to manage it by slowing down, but it ends up even walking is horrendous.
Yeah, so I could walk for a bit. I could still push for a bit. I think I passed 50 miles in 9 hours and 47, and I still felt decent. My legs felt fine, which was, I think, the biggest frustration, being, I think, even 12 hours into the event and still being third place, and leg-wise, feeling good. If I didn't have the stomach issues, I think I could have pushed for top 2, judging by the pace that I'd managed to set. But for a while, I was able to walk, even power walk, but running jolted my whole stomach. It was a very crampy, sharp pain that jolted with each step. And then it got to a point through, I don't know, 13, 14 hours in or so that I was just retching, even trying to walk or power walk around, until I ended up throwing up about 17 hours in, which is not fun. The taste of banana vomit in the back of your throat in the middle of the night when you're 70 miles into an ultra is it's not the highest point of what you plan to happen.
But did you swallow it back down again so it wasn't wasted carbs?
That was in the bush.
Come on, come on.
You're
That's
laughing.
plenty, man. No.
You're laughing. If you listen, the girl that won the fling, she was talking recently. The girl that won the fling and broke the record. Oh, what's her name? I should know this. She took a gel because she takes a gel every 20 minutes. She took a gel and kind of hit her throat and immediately come out and went into her glove, and she took it again because she's a winner. She took it out of the glove and continued.
If I hadn't have projected it into the bushes,
Champion.
It must have been a Molten gel because you wouldn't waste that. It's too dear.
It was actually.
Aye. You would have been a Molten gel. No offense, high five, but I'd just let that one go. But
Mike, I've got a question. It'll probably come back a bit to diet and stuff, but see, because I've never done it, and there's probably a lot of folk listening who've never done it. How does the change for running in the day to running through the night in the dark change stuff? Because to me, obviously, I would imagine it'll affect your eating. It might affect, well, it'll affect loads of things. But I mean, how, for your experience, what's the difference and how does it affect you really? Because I've never ran through the night in the pitch. We've all ran in the dark at night in like a December or that, but never ran through the night at your 2, 3, 4 in the morning. So how does that change things up for you?
I don't mind it too much, but I think I've recognized it's just a different type of running. So if you go into it expecting it to feel the same as running in the day, you'll be shocked and it won't go the same. Obviously, you've got a lot less peripheral vision. Like in the daytime, you can see 20 feet in front of you, you can see 2 feet in front of you, you can gauge your distance. Whereas when you're running with a headlamp, at that point in the night, you can't gauge your distance. There's less to distract you. There's less sounds. Also, you're probably naturally going to slow down because it'll be cooler, even in the summer during the night. Your body's naturally going to be releasing melatonin and trying to get you to stop. So the nighttime hours, I would expect to be slower, but then you also get that boost on the other side when the sun does start to come up. But generally, when people do tend to struggle, it's in those hours for sure. But I don't mind too much. I like running through the night.
Does it affect your eating stuff? Because you touched on one of the points. A lot of people say you get a boost when the sun comes up at the other side. But I've also heard as well, a lot of people saying that when you're running through the night, it completely mucks up their like eating. They find it hard to get food down because obviously at that time your body's like a bit like, what's going on here? Why we still trying to eat? It's like pitch black and I'm in like sleep mode. What's going on here? And they just struggle at that point. Did you have any difficulties with that kind of stuff?
No, I didn't really get to test that this time because my stomach was in bits anyway. Loch Ness 24 last year, I didn't really have any issues stomach-wise or eating. I just ate through the night. So, but yeah, people can do, but nah, that was fine.
Don't know what it is about running through the night. Like on a course like that, I think I'd be fine because you know you're in a route. But for some reason, running like over the hills and that, and these 100 miles things, what I'm going to have to do at some point, in the pitch black just gives me the pure heebie-jeebies. Just, I don't know why, eh? I've absolutely no idea why. It just freaks me out. I don't know. Aye.
I mean, obviously, this is a lot easier being a looped event. You're never more than. It's not even that you're 4 miles away, because at no point are you even more than a mile away from the tents or from somebody somewhere. And there's always going to be another runner before or after you. But yeah, I think recently I was in the Cairngorms and went up one of the Munros, and I was up there at between 11 at night and 1 in the morning. And yeah, it's a different experience. I mean, that's not probably the smartest thing in the world to do. At least on an event, you've got a tracker and people can see where you are. Whereas obviously the Cairngorms is a different kettle of fish. If I fell off, then I'm pretty much dead, mate. But no, I think once you get used to it, and especially if you know where you're going, it's a lot more peaceful when I'm running, but it's just different.
Quick one.
So-
Is any use?
On you go.
Sorry, Bob. Is any Jace, Bob? Any use run like through the night rather than at night? Is any use run through the night?
Yeah, I done a 24-hour relay event. Oh Christ, we're talking about 12 years ago, maybe. But that was like in Irvine. That was an industrial estate. Just doing loops. I can't remember. It was you had to go. I don't know. It was like something every hour on the hour or something. You had to keep going and did your rest. But during the night, it was like, I think as everyone get tired, the conversation was getting all daft and folk were hitting the giggles, and it was like the night shift crazies. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever worked night shift, but when you get to kind of the end of whatever stretch it is, everyone starts getting daft or moody or
Bloodshot
something. Or
eyes.
hyper. Aye. It's wacky, but then the sun comes up and it's like, right, everyone, let's just not talk about what happened there. We're all good now again. We're all back to normal. We're good.
I've never run through the night. 8 o'clock's my bedtime. You're lucky I'm even up to now. So there's absolutely no chance in hell that I would be attempting any of that nonsense. I didn't mind getting up like in the middle of winter and going and run the Pentlands at 4 or 5 in the morning. That's probably the closest I would get to running through the night. But nah, you'll not catch me running at 2 o'clock in the morning anywhere. No danger. Even if I was to do a 24-hour event, I'd probably just try and bar it in early, get a snooze, and then get back up and do it again in the morning. I think that would be my tactics.
I do love a head
I've
torch
just got-
run though.
I've just got pictures of everybody running through the night, and there's this number. You're like, whose number that? Stuck at the checkpoint. Oh, that's Jace. He's just having an 8-hour sleep.
Telling you.
I can imagine Jace being grumpy, telling everyone to keep it down.
Nah, once I'm out, I'm out. That's me. I'm gone. If I fall asleep, mate, there's no waking me up.
So a good event then, mate, would you recommend it?
100% recommend it. I mean, obviously my event didn't go to plan, didn't go to how I wanted it to, but personally, like, I'm really happy with how it went, with how good I felt to be in the position I was, setting the pace as I was. It's kind of lit more of a fire, and I know there's a lot more there. I know I can hit the 100. I know I could have podiumed in that one if it had gone a little bit smoother with certain things. But the event itself is amazingly well organized. The guys that run it were out for the full 24 hours. The support on course, they were always out in 2s and 3s, and they walked counterclockwise around the course. So you always saw them in multiple places, and it didn't matter whether it was through the hottest part of the day, through the middle of the night. They were always really energetic, always really encouraging, wanting you to get the most out of what you could, supporting you with anything that you needed, whether it's food or lap times. So yeah, the guys, they're really reactive or really kind of proactive on social media. If you had any questions, they were back to you straight away. So yeah, Tom and Alice that run the event are kind of fantastic race directors. It's definitely something, whether it's the 12, the 24, or even the 6-hour race, I would do again. Also, it was fantastic to see the other guys there. Obviously, there's Steph and Susan that did the 12-hour event. It's the first. Obviously, I've met Susan a few times. It's the first time I've met Steph, and Pethner and Lynn that did the 24. So
Oh, did they do the 24? I think I've already been told this as well. And I've never paid attention.
yes, they did the 24. I think they were aiming for 50 miles for Lynn's 50th. It was her birthday next day. I don't think they quite got there, but no, it was great to see them.
Need to actually give Lynn a wee shout out. She was at the sunset race at the weekend, and I'd left my car window open, in the middle of Silver Nows, obviously, and I had to make a mad dash before the start of the race to run up because she gave me a shout to say that my car window was open. Wallet, laptop, everything sitting in the car. So I shout out to Lynn for that.
Lucky boy.
But no, it was great to see all the other people there. I would definitely recommend it. If I wasn't doing other events, obviously my year next year is planned in with even more stupidity. But if I wasn't doing other things, I would definitely go back and do that one again. It was an amazing event.
Mike, how many folk were in the events, do you know? In yours and the other ones?
I think there were 42 24-hour solo runners. There were 34 12-hour solo runners. I don't know how many were in pairs or the 6 hours, but no, I think there was 200 to 300 running altogether. So not huge, but enough people that there's always people there, but not too big that it was crowded at any point. Even the start line wasn't crowded, but that's why I went off at the speed I did to try and get ahead. Burn off some nerves energy.
You went off at the speed you went off because you always go off at that speed. That's just what you do. It's not because of the crowd. That's just because it's you.
Yeah, it is. But I did that more purposefully this time because I was nervous for the first event in ages. And like Jace saw me at the ACP 100 in March, and even before 100k, then I wasn't that nervous. Like I generally don't get kind of that built up, but this was the first event probably since the wall last year because I had those expectations. So for me, I think I needed to get out and kind of get the lungs and the legs going to settle down because I could feel it. I just had to get moving.
So you're just burning off nervous energy?
Hi, pretty much. It worked.
But the Saltire 12 and 24 weren't the only ultra type events on the go. The West Highland Way, which your Kaylee, the banana lover, was taking place. Absolute epic effort. She was supported by Emily was there. I'm sure Alison was up supporting as well. Absolute phenomenal race. I don't know if you guys know much about. Is it the full West Highland Way? Is it or?
Yeah, it's the full West Highland Way. It goes from Milgay. Starts at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is a horrendous start time.
Jace already.
Yeah, it starts at 1 in the morning at Milgay, follows basically the West Highland Way route up to Fort William. So 95 miles and around, 18,000 feet of climbing through the full thing. But yeah, Kaylee did it. Emily paced her. You're allowed a pacer in the last 20, 30 miles. They recommend you have a pacer. It's also mostly self-supported, so you have to have a support crew. Gary did it as well. Gary runs. Gary Dempsey, he did pretty well, came in 22 hours, I think, or 23 hours.
It was 23 hours ago. Yeah.
23. But as well, Gary had stomach issues like I did. Haley almost did, but I think had enough bananas to not. But yeah, there's a few people that I've seen doing it as well.
I think what made that harder. Sorry,
the guy, boy Kev Craig, really good guy. He does these distances as well. He completed it, and honest to God, I don't know if I can think of anybody. Obviously, you've got AB who can do maybe 50k distances, but Kev smashes like 5k, 10k, halves, fulls, like really good times, and he's smashing the West Highland Way as well. And he does it on the same. He dives in and out of everything, and I think it's incredible some of the stuff that he does.
Yeah, I spoke to Kev as well. He did pretty amazing with that. I think the winner was 14 hours or so, which for 95 miles.
Oft. I was just going to say that is
ridiculous.
That is ludicrous. 14 hours, 17 minutes, I think it was, which is insane for that. That is absolutely nuts.
It took us 11 and a half hours to do the first 53 miles of the fling.
bonkers, actual bonkers. Like, and what made that worse is, so I think you're allowed a pacer for just a wee bit longer than that, Mike, because guy from my work, Andy, he was pacing his friend who was up for England, and they were meant to meet at a point in it, but there was a fatality on the day.
Yeah.
A motorbike fatality. A guy crashed and passed away. So they had blocked off the route between certain checkpoints. So a lot of runners were getting to a checkpoint, leaving, thinking, I'll see you in 10, 15 miles at the next checkpoint, but they weren't. They were having to then do like a 20 plus mile stint before they were getting their crew again. So they were getting a heads up, but they were on like 40 miles, 50 miles, knowing you're doing 20 or something without even getting to see your crew. And my mate joined his pal, having only meant to run with him for like 20 miles, I think it was, 30 miles. And he ended up having to run with him for 40 because the car crashed. That's the longest my mate's ever ran in his life as well. 40 miles, basically second half of the full race, because there was that bike and car incident, which is just makes it even more bonkers that some of the folk. Because when I spoke to Gary, he said that affected him. You know what Gary's like? He was just a bit like, it is what it is. But he got to his checkpoint, got fueled, and then when he went, he didn't see his group for a big tourney. I can't remember what it was he had to do. Something stupid like 20 miles of that without any people. Midway into a 95, 96 mile race, which is just know what you want,
Not,
but
I think it's not unheard of to have like 20-mile stints, but on a race that distance, when you're obviously going to have planned in checkpoint to checkpoint, it's things like that you don't want to have coming up. That's the game, though. It's the ultra game. Something's going to go wrong somewhere, but how are you going to overcome it?
Which is going to make the next segment sound a bit weak with us moaning about loops of 5K. But myself and Jace went down to the Blast Running Sunset Marathon Running Festival. A race I've done before. I've done it twice before. I had done the marathon relay and I'd done the half marathon. Great events. Previously, it was like just over 7K loops, I think it was. Fantastic event. But this year, the organisers, Kat and her team, faced issues due to travellers arriving on site. So they were advised to alter the route. So Kat and her team managed to get the loops changed to just over 5K, which is 3.275 miles to normal people like me. And she even managed to get it officially measured too. So hats off to Kat and her team. Registration for this event was really easy for me. I just had a guy called Jace go down and pick up my bib on the Friday night. So that was super easy for me.
I was chief collector for everybody.
You could have delivered it with safety pins though.
They were in the car. I did have them for you. We just forgot them.
I should have just went to your car since you leave the windows and that
exactly,
open.
You could have actually just grabbed them anyway.
That's mad. So, Jace, could you just go down and collect a ton of bibs for people if you want?
Nah, Kat obviously knows me, mate. So,
right.
I'd grabbed my mate Danny. I don't think you've met Danny. I grabbed Danny's and I grabbed Bob's because the way the registration was working, it was open for a certain time. So if you went on Friday, then it meant that you didn't need to go as early on the Saturday before the race to go and get your bib. So that would obviously help Bob for travelling and parking and stuff. So I ended up getting Ryan's bib because Ryan done a last minute entry as well. So I just kind of done a wee rundown for everybody and grabbed them to save people having to come a bit earlier and be sitting about or standing about for 2 hours, potentially before the race by the time, got parked up, everything like that. So I basically, because Kat knows me, mate, that's why we got away with that one.
I've done this event before, and I should have actually checked the numbers of the previous events, but I'm sure it was like in the 200s kind of thing were involved all in. This felt big, Jace, didn't it? This felt like a real, not that it's not proper, but do you know what I mean? It was it did feel like a festival.
I think the mass start as well obviously helped it feel that there was more. Obviously, you didn't know who was really doing much racing unless you looked at the bibs, but I think there was definitely over 300, maybe 400. I think she said she had a maximum of 6. I don't think there was quite 6 there. But I think her events are obviously, they're very much taken off because of how good she's organising them. I remember before the 20 along the 4th, she mentioned that I think her first race of that, she had maybe, I don't know, I'm making this up, 30, 40 people. And then just that one there was something like 300 people again or 400. So it just shows you how much the popularity of the events are going.
Absolutely. And when we say it's like a festival, there was a
Yep.
DJ, there was food fans, there was a shop selling the Blast running merchandise. Did I read there was a drinks tent?
There was a wee tent and a wee seating area with the big, the oversized cushions and the wee box that you could like put your drink and stuff on that. So it was brilliant. Like it was, and I think it works very well because of the fact that it's obviously on the promenade. So it was just like a line section of everything in one place. So all the spectators could kind of just go in between all the food vans and the wee drinks place, the DJ bit. There was a wee group of maybe 5 or 6 people there that were kind of shouting at you every time you went past what to dance with, and that just obviously keeps you going, keeps you motivated, especially if like you're doing the marathon or some of the ultra marathoners.
It's that care and attention to detail though that makes a difference. As obviously we've had experiences recently of events that don't do that, but yeah, same with Saltire, same with Blast running and what Cat does. You can tell when a race organizer actually cares to put on an event, and that's always going to keep you going back. Like I've heard nothing but good things. So these aren't events I would probably necessarily look at myself, but hearing that they are that well run, wouldn't say no a future time.
It's not like that. See, when you think about it, what was it? About 2 weeks previous that the Travellers moved in? Was it 2 or 3 weeks? I said at the time, no chance this is going ahead. No danger.
Once we spoke about that, I'd messaged Kat just to ask, like, what's the plan for it? Because obviously I was injured at the time, so I was like, I don't know to move down to the marathon or just defer completely or whatever. Sorry, move from the marathon to the half or defer completely. And she was like, not insistent. She's like, nah, it will be going ahead in some whatever shape or form it is. It will be going ahead. So she obviously, I think she spoke to the council and obviously the police as well, and organised it with them as well to what was going to be safe for everybody. And that was the main thing for her. I think the safety of everybody being there, and at not one point during the whole thing, as much as the Travellers were up there. And by the way, I've never heard anybody actually confirm that they've caused any bother, so we can't say that they were threatening anybody. So nobody was worried. Everybody was worried about going. At no point did you feel like anything. I actually seen a few of the Traveller boys come down and get something for the food van while I was doing one of my laps. So there was no problems. She done well.
At no point did I think this has been a half-arse just to keep it going.
Yeah.
That still felt like absolutely smashed it out of the park.
Yep.
Fantastic. Even with the crap weather and everything, still fantastic.
Yeah. There was nothing there at all on the night that I thought, she's not thought about that. There was in one of the chats, there was a wee grumble about people finishing obviously within places to get a prize, that they didn't have some kind of ticket. You got these 10Ks, Bob, and you get the ticket with your result. I mean, but she does mention in the email that you'll get your results within 24 hours and then your prize would be posted out to you. So I think given the amount of runners and the fact that she had a 5K, a half, a marathon and an ultra and a relay, by the way, going on at the same time, then I think you need to you can't have everything. And the fact that you've had that well organised of an event, kept everybody safe, it went really well for me. I didn't think you can complain about getting a wee printout of your result.
So, talking about individual races then, how did you get on, Jace?
So as I kind of mentioned, I was meant to be originally doing the marathon to get a wee bit of redemption, obviously for EMF, but with the collarbone injury, I dropped down to the half. I'd only really ran 10K during the week just to make sure I was going to be able to manage some kind of distance. Obviously, at my distance, my weekly mileage just fell off a cliff. Done the 10K during the week. It was manageable, wasn't sore. Saturday, I went out like a house on fire as per usual. Realised fairly quickly that that wasn't going to, fitness wise, not injury wise, fitness wise, I wasn't going to be able to withstand that pace for very much longer. So I dialed it back in. I was being sensible. When my heart rate was getting a bit high, I was stopping, having a wee walk, bringing it down. Got through 10k, felt absolutely fine. So that's basically, well, 11k, we'll say, that 2 laps. Got to halfway in the 3rd lap, and like, because I've got the collarbone injury, the way that I was holding my, trying to support my arm and my shoulder, my trap went brick hard, and I started getting a kind of spasming kind of type pain in my trap. And I was like, don't know if this is going to happen. I ended up, the people that seen me doing this, I was basically running with one arm and hanging my arm down to take all the pressure off the muscle. And it was just getting stupid. I was going to end up doing damage. I've not done any damage. And just as I was finishing lap 3, Bob shouted to me, bigger picture. And I was like, he's right. But I was like, nah, I've only got 1 lap to go. I could just get this done. And I ran about an extra 100 meters. I was like, you know what? What's the point? Absolutely nothing going to come of this. I was obviously nowhere near a PB. Like, it was 20, 30 minutes off probably. So that was never the intention, to try and do that anyway, obviously, given the injury and the lack of running. So I bailed at 16k, which I am absolutely over the moon at managing to get that 16k in. And even with the hamstring injury as well that I've had, I've not had any niggles from that either, and the shoulders eased off already. So I hopefully get back out run again tomorrow. My legs were heavy, obviously, because I've never done much running recently, but other than that, it was good, and it was good to see a lot of people there that hadn't seen for a wee while as well. I hadn't really seen many people since Edinburgh Marathon, and obviously, given the fact it was a washout, you're probably then another couple of months before that you'd actually seen anybody and spent any real time with them, and got to have a worthwhile chat. So no, it was brilliant. Really loved it, and it's definitely one I would do next year. I think if I was fit, I would want to maybe do the marathon there next year. Just given the loops, how flat it is, and the event itself, I think the support that you get on the course would really kind of make it a much easier, a much more manageable place to get a PB than, for me, Edinburgh Marathon.
It's funny you're saying with your arm. So obviously you were doing the half, I was doing the full, and on that long stretch, I was like, I was gaining on you, which made me think there was something wrong anyway. And the closer I got, I could see your arm was like dropped down.
Aye.
So I said, if I get to you, I have to tell you, bigger picture, you can't do this. You're not going to get anything out of it. And if you start running differently, you're just going to end up causing
I was dropping the arm to relieve the pressure on it a bit, and then picking it back up normal, and then kind of lifting it a bit. You're bang on, and 100% agreed. I knew. I think if I'd kept on going, I think even if I turned, how you had to go back up and then turn the fence. I think if I got back down to the start area, I think at that point I would have even sacked it. I wouldn't have wanted to get any further. I had to walk back or anything like that. And after the shambles of walking the rest end of my marathon, I wasn't going to do that this time. You know what I mean? I was going in, and anything for me over 10k on Saturday, in my head was already a bonus. And there was times there where I opened my legs up, and my legs did feel fine. So it's gave me a bit more confidence that maybe 10 days ago I was like, oh, this is going to be a long way back. But I think it's just going to be a case of a bit consistency, a bit routine, a bit luck. And hopefully, we'll get ready for Glasgow, Edinburgh.
Well done.
Is it fair to say that this was just as important for you for the mentals after what's happened recently than actually physically achieving something?
No,
you just needed to get out.
I came off that course. Well, even on the course, by the way, I was buzzing when I was looking at my watch, and the kilometers were ticking by, and I was just like, nah, I feel fine. I knew that was obviously the issue, but the fact my legs felt fine, breathing, my heart rate's still a bit high because my fitness is probably it's a far bit gone for what it was. If you look at, I don't know, Seville half marathon in January where I ran a 1:30, 1:31. I'm miles off that, but that's consistency. Again, I've got there once, so I'll get back to it again. After the half marathon, we all went to the pub as well. So it was good to spend a bit of time with the Newton guys. There was Craig, Ross, Joanne, Jack. Jack got a 6-minute PB. Danny got a 6-minute PB. So it was good vibes in the pub as well. We managed to kind of time it perfectly for me to just get back along the finishing line for Bob to be coming across. So it was good. Had a great wee night. It was good fun.
See all the races. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say a bad word about that whole race. Now somebody always usually chips in with something. Like just looking at everybody's stuff, everybody seemed to just love that race and that event and the whole thing, the whole night.
Mate, I think Kat, the one thing with Kat is she put stuff on for the runners. It's obviously I didn't kind Kat's ins and outs in terms of, is that her main source of income or what? But I always get for her events that the first and foremost thoughts are, right, how can I put on the best experience for these people? Not, right, how can I make the most money off these people? Which some events do. Not all events, some events. That's just, it's just, see, if I was going to organise an event, I think that's how I would want to organise an event, given, like, the run takes care of itself. People are going to run, people know how to run a distance, you can make a course. But it's the wee finer details that are going to make people go, oh, by the way, we were there. There was the DJ bit. When I was running past that, it was like only the case of like 100-yard section, but it was like, you felt honestly like an Olympian. Like I was starting to sprint in that. I was like, oh, you need to calm down here. Because it was just like getting that wee buzz. There were people there, even again, as Bob said, with the weather. It kind of dampened people's spirits for a wee bit. But all the people that were still at the top bit, because it was quite covered with the trees and stuff, they didn't move anyway. And they had tents and that to go in under as well. So, 100%. I think that's maybe the third or fourth blast event I've done now. And every single one of them, she's honestly hit the nail on the head.
Well, that's my 3 of my 4 PBs. I've got a 5k PB is at our Meadows 5k. My half marathon PB is at the Sunset Marathon doing the relay, and then, well, spoiler alert, but a PB'd as well at this event. So it's just fantastic. You know what I mean? And the thing about Kat as well, I've turned up to events where I've booked and so, oh, you're not on, and it's not a stress, and she never seems phased by anything. She's just, all right, no worries, go over there and we'll sort you out.
Well,
and it's Kat loves it.
What you've got to think about, Bob, as well, is none of these races that Kat's going to put on are on closed roads, or she's now shut them off for the public, and you've never hear anybody moaning about anything, either public-wise, posting on her pages. You never hear anybody complaining about, anybody that's running complaining about the routes being open to the public, because she picks them, I think, at the right times to do them. These races, just a really, it's a well-oiled machine. I think she's got, and she knows what she's doing. Obviously, she's very good at it.
Absolutely. Well, I wasn't really a well-oiled machine for this one. Since EMF, my training's kind of fell off a cliff a wee bit. Apart from my kind of committed club sessions, I've not really been doing too much. I've had a little bit of a knee niggle, possibly some like my IT band, but not as bad as it was last year. So I've just been kind of managing that, but still eating as if I was marathon training. So that side of the carb loading was fine. So I went into this pretty low key, no flat lay, so it was kind of last minute grabbing all my gear. I was on my way there. I think I got to Falkirk and realised I hadn't packed my headphones, and I thought there's no danger I'm doing 8 loops here without the option of music, so I had to about turn. So I was starting to get a bit of a flap that, got to turn up late here, but it was all fine. Got there, met up with Jace, got parked fine. There's plenty of parking, to be fair. Went down, bumped into the Newton crew, bumped into Alex, Les, seen Laura Cameron and her pal Amanda. It was just the usual kind of thing that I'm now getting to appreciate, where it just calms everything down and relaxes you, just having a good chat. I think we were all chatting. We missed the warm-up. We shouldn't really say, but we missed the kind of safety instructions at the start because we were all just boiling at the back, having a good chat, and it was like 3, 2, 1, right, you better go.
The gun went off, and I was like, but I didn't care when I'm running here.
And I was like, do we need to run over the mats every time, or do we run? It's like, I'll just follow whoever's in front. I was like, this is bad. But yeah, I went into this thinking I had a nice, easy, not easy pace, but I had a conservative pace to start with, and I was just going to crank it down every loop until I got to about halfway, and then I was just going to lift my head and then just see if I could go by feel and just try to pick off people in front of me. That seemed to go really well. Fueling wise, I went with a soft flask for the first half as well, and then switched to gels for the second half. Again, for a change, I had no stomach issues, which is always great when you don't feel you're going to shit yourself during the race. Which I've don't feel sorry for yourself, but it's the kind of things that you need to appreciate when you get a race and it doesn't happen. So no, I was.
So there's a big difference between how you fueled for this one and how you fueled for the others, considering, as you say, you went in with probably less training than you did on previous events. But I'd say evidently you've executed the actual race better than previous events. Like, did that come in?
Well, this was the plan I had wrote down for Edinburgh. But because Edinburgh's downhill, I just started off at kind of sub 3:30 pace. So I was like, oh, fuck it, we're in now. Just go. Which was fine. Whether or not I'd have probably crashed and burned. Well, I don't know, because I was training well for Edinburgh. But there's always a chance you could crash and burn, even though it was a mile 17 at Edinburgh that my stomach started playing up. Who knows if it didn't, if I could have carried that on or not, but there you go, that's life. But fueling was not an issue at this one. I did notice once the 4 loops were done and the 7K people had left the field and the half marathon people had left the field, and it was just the marathoners and the ultras. It was a lot more spaced out, felt a bit more quieter.
I was going to ask Bob, how did that mentally? When you obviously, there was less than like people coming on the course. I don't know how I would react to that, if I would be positive or negative with that. How did you feel about that when you started seeing the numbers on course dwindling?
I was trying to say, I was joking, just telling folk, I'm getting bored of these loops now, and that. I just try to, but really the loops were fine. But I was very aware of, I wish I had finished, or I need to now do. These guys have run a half marathon, and need to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of thing starts popping in your head. But at the half marathon point, I felt fine. My legs were fine, everything was fine, because I had been running quite conservative anyway. It was just like, right, this is the race now starting. And my paces kind of sat around about the same level without looking at my watch, as I was determined, don't look at your watch, just look up and look for the next guy, whether they're walking or running or whatever, just try and pick off the next one. And that seemed to work really well. Might be something I take forward.
So you're basically just been copying AB then, aye? Just no watch, just chasing the guy in front of you, and then chasing the guy in front of you, and chasing the guy in front of you, aye?
That guy's walking, I'll chase him. But that was all good up until, this is probably the lack of training comes in. That last loop, I seemed to kind of fall off a cliff a wee bit, where my glutes started, my hips started getting niggly, didn't feel as smooth. And then I did start looking at my watch and going, oh, the pace has dropped a bit here, and you start panicking. You wonder, am I going to stop here? So I took my headphones off. I was like, right, let's just start focusing on what I'm doing and try to play for the crowd a wee bit, try to look for people. I think I passed Alex and Ryan told me it's all right, you're still the most handsome guy in the course and stuff like that. So that kind of cheered me up a wee bit. And then I got up, there's a flagpole at the top end, and I ran up to the flagpole, and all of a sudden I could just hear from the top of the hill a chorus of "There's only one Bob Burrell." And when you've got 2 miles to go in a race and you feel like you've had the shit kicked out of you and you want to stop, but you hear folk actually singing your name, like Jason, the Newton crew from the pub, I was like, no, right, let's get around this flagpole and let's go. And even when I was coming back, I could hear everyone was shouting and screaming. I really must have wondered what was going on. Who's this guy getting all this support? But these were all shouting from the hill. And then I seen this maniac with his shoulder hanging off, charging down a wet, grassy hill to try to capture me crossing the finish line.
I got there though.
Yeah. But
You know, it's mad though. We talked about it, I think, a couple of episodes ago. People, I think some people do, but people don't actually realise, even if you've no idea who they are. I think AB spoke about it as well when he was crossing the finish line, and just people shouting your name and cheering for you. You might not have a clue who you are, but when you're running, it gives you a buzz, eh? Not that I've experienced it loads, because, well, I generally run and it's in the middle of nowhere yourself, but when you do run these things, like, you get a buzz for people like shouting your number and your name and like talking to you and stuff, eh? So I can imagine how you felt when you could just hear everybody just like singing your name. It must have been absolutely amazing.
That's goosebump stuff.
I think, obviously, this is no fault of Blast by the cat. It's the weather. I think if that wee pour hadn't happened, Bob, I think even at the end of the marathon, I think you still would have bigger crowds along the end, which is a wee shame that probably wasn't more people were able to stay out and enjoy it, enjoy the the food vans and the drinks tent and stuff like that after it, because of the fact that we had the downpour. The downpour was bad, like that was bad for about half an hour or something. It was terrible.
But then it lifted, and there was one I was coming. I can't remember what lip it is. They're all starting to merge into one. But as you're running back up the way, the sun had came out and it was really strong, and you could see like the bridges and stuff like that. And a few of my race pictures, I just looked like total bright with the sun on me, and I was like, "This is stunning tonight." Let's see once actually all calmed down with the weather. I was like, "This is lovely." But in terms of on you go.
Sorry, I was just going to say there's a few pictures towards the end. I think I'd shot up the road by this point. But there's a few pictures that people are taking at the actual sunset itself, and it looks stunning.
Oh, it was beautiful. But we were, cause Les was doing the marathon as well. Big shout out to her. She got a 3:26, PB, first female, and done a course PB as well. She was outstanding. But cause she was ahead of me, so she was coming back as I was going out, kind of thing. So it started off like, "Whoa, yeah, keep going," and then towards the end, we were just grunting at each other. But it was a kind of, "Come on, get this done."
That's when Danny gave me a lift back for the pub to try and catch you. We parked right beside where Ryan and Les were parked, and then I was like to Ryan, I was like, "Where's Les?" And she was just crumpled in the back of Ryan's car, couldn't have moved. Just just absolutely gave everything, obviously. So fair play to her. She'd done a wee secret squirrel marathon though. She'd say to me, "Oh, are you coming?" I was like, "I'll be there." She's like, "Oh, how's your arm? Are you still going to like to give me a hug?" And I was like, "It'd be fine." I was like, "Oh, you doing a half marathon?" Just never answered me. So I just assumed that she was doing the half marathon. And then the next minute I've looked up, I'm like, "How's she not finished?" And she's just looping about. I was like, what a wee chancer. Wee secret squirrel in the half
when she was in Italy until got a flight back 1 a.m. This race was at 5.
Altitude training.
To be fair to her, she doesn't really drink. She has the odd one or two, so it's not like she's been on holiday and say I went on holiday then tried to run a marathon. I think that would be a completely different scenario that we're talking about there than Les going. I think Les looks after herself a little better than I do.
Do you think as well, like, obviously Les never had much time to think about it. It was just like home, get her stuff, yada yada, into the race. Same with you, Bob, like you were talking about, you didn't have time, you rushed back to Falkirk, you then rushed to the event, you were chatting, and it was like bang, go. Do you think no having that, because I know what you're like, you've said before, you think about stuff and sometimes you get in your own head. Do you think actually no being given that time or ability to overthink things, just get there, get ready, go, done, and you're away? Do you think that helps you at all?
Well, I still overthink it, because I think for Edinburgh, I wanted to kind of in the range of like the 3:35, 3:30, somewhere in about there. But I think because I was like, I can dial this back and still PB. I can still learn a lot, see how things are, just calm it all down. And what is it, the progress, not perfection, as they say? I thought I could just go, because Jace had said to me, "Mate, just drop to the half. And I was like, "No, but I could do the half and I wouldn't be anywhere near PB shape, and I wouldn't really feel like I was getting out it. But if I play this right, I can still run a strong marathon." I still have a moan at myself. It's still not where I want my times to be, but we're moving forward now. Do you know what I mean? We're starting. There's been a few attempts to get that moving forward, and it's not worked. But even like the morning of because this is a Saturday night marathon, for those that don't know. So I'd cut my grass. I'd cut the front and back grass in the morning. I'd hoovered the car. we'd done the Tesco shop and all that. By the time I got to the start line, so Garmin's got a body battery. I was at 5%. So that's like get to your bed, time to rest, and I was at the start line for a marathon.
I think that's why I was quite happy when Ryan phoned me to go down. He obviously done the late entry, and I'd say to him, like, look, if you want me to go down and make sure you get an entry so you're not leaving it too late and all the places go, I'll quite happily go down for you. It's only like 10, 15 minutes in the car for me. And I was bored. I'd done the car, I'd went shopping, and at one point I think I was trying to have a nap at about 1 o'clock, and then that's when Ryan phoned. I was like, nah, look, that's me, I'm done. I think I was down there for like 2 o'clock. And I stayed down there for 2 o'clock, and I wasn't bored at any point. I just got ready, and then all the Newton guys came, then Danny came, then Bob came, and I think even while they're running about, you still done, Bob, but we're still there because I'd obviously got your bib in that for you. I think you came about 10 past 4, so it still has 50 minutes to get settle in. We were obviously parked 5-10 minutes away from the start line anyway, so I found it quite relaxed once everybody was there. Everybody was, it was good. Right.
No,
I think sometimes though, to have these events where either training hasn't gone amazing coming into it, or maybe you've not hit the results that you really wanted, kind of like either your training before this or my results. Sometimes this can be some of the best events to light that fire under your ass, because if you can do that with the training you had, and you said in the group the day before you weren't feeling this, like you weren't on that ballpark, but to then do a 3:43, which while isn't what you want, is still a phenomenal time by all accounts. Under those conditions, later on in the day, non-standard running, like it does just set up the potential in the future for so much more. So you get back on it.
Well, it wasn't until today I was so my co-side runners, I've just said I'm going to take a break for a few weeks just to let my legs settle and give some time back to the family and stuff like that. But I posted that I've actually ran, that's 2 sub 350 marathons in 6 weeks. So that's probably still on my legs as well, EMF, do you know what I mean? So it's the fact that I'm consistently able to do that without running brilliantly.
I mean, it's the fact that you're able to go and bang out a marathon. Obviously, it's a graft, and you're not doing it, easily here. But the work that you're putting in is still allowing you to even do the 2 marathons in 6 weeks. And a PB is a PB, mate. Like it's progress. And as Mike's saying, if you just need to look forward now and go and realise that you were going to go get 3:30 there probably yesterday with how you were feeling before it, with how much training you had done, and again the tea time marathon thing and all the work that you've done during the day. It's not optimal, but you've still managed to come away with a good result. So I wouldn't be too hard on yourself or concern yourself about it, because you've got however long you've got till your next race now, and you can yourself, you work out a plan and go forward with it. So well done.
Thank you. We beat ourselves up enough when we have bad races, so I should really celebrate the good ones.
100%, mate.
Because I think it was Steve Runn said a fair point too. He said even if you'd hit, say you even went out and absolutely blew it out the water and done something you've never done, hit 3:26, you'd still come away from that thinking, you know what, I could have probably went a wee tiny bit faster. I could have probably done that. You're always going to have something you can do better, eh? Like you said, it's just chipping away at it.
I don't think I finished a marathon thinking I had anything left.
The one thing that I thought about is, see, EMF last year I ran 3:32. I never gave myself enough credit for that in terms of how hard that was a few weeks ago. Even trying to run at that pace with how much progress I thought I had made. I know I had an injury and whatnot, by the way, so like I can obviously take that into account. But if you're running PBs, you just need to give yourself a pat on the back and accept it for what it is, because at the end of the day, progress, and you go forward with it, and then you beat that again. If you went and got or if anybody went and got a 10 or 15 minute PB, it's got to take some of the fun out your next year. Because what I mean, say half marathons are a better distance to put in context. If you go from 145 to 130 in one run, or you go 145 to 130 in 4 runs, you're going to get a lot more enjoyment out of having the 4 PBs, by the way, than sitting banging that out in one run, and then you're sitting there plateau, kind of get under 130 again. That's kind of where I got to a point where I was running 133, 132, 130. I still kind of get under 130. So that's been 18 months. I think I've been trying to get under there now, and I've just accepted that it'll come when it comes. I'm getting like 20-second PBs and stuff now, and so just enjoy it. Doesn't matter how big they are, how small they are. A PB is a PB.
Yep, and we've got potential PBs coming up. Then we've got races. I'll run through a few races we've got coming up for the team in the next few months. I've got Loch Ness 24 in August for Mike.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Cumbernauld 10K in September, 15th of September, and then Mike's doing, I'm going to guess it's an 100 miler, the Oco 100.
I'll call 100.
That
100
sounds
miles.
fucking bonkers. Is that up and over the hills then? Is that?
Yeah, so it starts in Stirling at 6 in the evening. You go 50 miles across the Ochils to Perth, and then turn around and go right the way back.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And then the next event is a week later that I've signed up to.
Is that the Hateful Eight Ultra?
Yeah, that's an 8-hour event down in Wales. So I think, 6 days after the 100 miler, I'll be driving down to Wales to do an 8-hour looped event.
You told me that you couldn't do the ultra at Blast because you still had the fling in your legs. That was about 8 weeks ago. So what are you on about?
I don't remember that.
Eh?
What?
That's what you said. You said to me, "Oh, I can't do that. My legs are still sore for the fling or whatever."
Yeah, but I realised
So we
with Saltire, having done 75 miles, and then 3 days later I was up 5 Munros. So I realised actually I can. So I did.
So he's talking shit.
So,
Talking shit, aye.
And then we've got the mentally tough Glasgow to Edinburgh, which Jason and Jimmy are doing. Is Avey doing that as well?
Avey's doing that as well. I think that still might be up in the air for me, depending on if I need this operation on my shoulder or not. I think if I get the operation, that might take me out of this. I don't know if either you two know if I can you defer the GB Ultras ones easy enough, or is
yeah, you
that?
can. Yeah, you can defer.
That might. I would like to do it, but I need to get the shoulder fixed. So if I go in, I've got an appointment the week after my holiday, which is 4 weeks on Friday. It'll be the appointment. If they tell me I need to off, I'm just going to get it because these have obviously seen the X-rays. It is in an absolute mess, and I can't live my life forever if it's going to be restricting my movement on it. I would rather get the operation done. And
I think if you do get the op, there's no point doing the event just for the sake of doing
that's
the
what
event.
I mean. It's in this year's effectively became a write-off anyway. Well, sorry, the second half of the year. I've obviously had a lot of good results at the first half of the year, so I can't say it's been a write-off. That's got a bit too harsh.
Quite dramatic.
It's obviously my own stupidity. Fanning about my child's scooter, but listen, that's me. So we'll see about GE. I really do want to do it though, because I've obviously built up in my mind that I want to get this done. And the fact that it finishes at the back of the house and stuff like that, I definitely do want to do it.
Well, the one that they asked
be shouting out the window. Sorry, if you didn't expect you to be shouting out the window, there's only one Jimmy Bunter as I'm running along that grass bit into the stadium.
I'll come down to the canalical siphon shout for you, Jerry. Go, there's the king of the community.
Shout it to you, shout it for you.
I think Mike will still do Glasgow Edinburgh somehow. He'll get a transfer place.
Canada this year. The event's on the same day.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it. So it is.
And the day after that is the Great Scottish Run, the Glasgow Half.
Hopefully, Abby gets a top 10 place in GE so he can come on and do the podcast that week.
It'd be good to see him again.
Was it right he's wanting a fee for coming on here now?
Oh, what a boy.
We just got
anyway, guys,
American.
It has been a pleasure. Good chat, and we'll see how the races fall, and we'll get another episode up soon, I'm sure.
Just obviously, Bob, as well, just a wee shout out to the Press Play and I can't even say it. The Press Play and Run Club Long Run. I think that returns on the 21st of July. My calendar isn't working. Yep, 21st of July. That's coming back. I'm going to try and get through a couple since I missed a lot of them in the build up to the spring marathons. So you're coming as well.
Get involved. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and thanks to the guys. See you all again. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. See you in a bit.
Very much. See you there.